Hello and welcome to The Print. I am Aamaan and today with us we have a very special guest, food historian Pushpesh Pant. Thank you sir for joining.
Thank you.
He is also the mentor for the Nainital Literature Festival. So we'll begin with the first question that what do you think is the relationship that literature and food share?
Well, that's a very interesting question because food is basic to life, and food is more important than anything else in life, including sex, because sex is necessary for the race to continue, and food is absolutely essential for the individual to survive. And unless the individual survives, there can't be anything else in life. So, food is intrinsic. Annam vai Brahma, annam vai Rasa, as the ancients said it. It is the essence of life, it is the enjoyment of life, it's the bliss. And then when you talk of literature, food, like anything else, permeates literature. Food is memory, memory is literature, literature leads to performance, and performance evokes moods, and food evokes moods. So, all the rasas, all the emotional transitions which we experience are basically based on food.
So recently the Bihar government banned the sale of fish and meat near schools and religious places to prevent what it calls violent tendencies in children. So
Look, I
what do you
think
think
nothing
about
could
it?
be more stupid than this. I mean, if you say violence is induced by what you eat, then what about the vegetarians, the cruel vegetarians, including Adolf Hitler, who were professed vegetarians and annihilated millions of people in gas chambers? There is no correlation between food and your temperamental being violent or antisocial or genocidal or murderous. You could have people who totally vegetarian and who would be killing people for their creed, caste, religion, whatever it is. And I think there was an experiment by the Madhya Pradesh government some time back who took off eggs from the daily diet of the school children because they thought it was not sattvic enough. And the only source of protein which the poor children had was taken away from them. So this controversy was there. I think Bihar has done very many mindless things even before this, like imposing prohibition. Now, prohibition is, of course, one of the directive principles of a state, but the point is you sort of force it in a manner that it only becomes a catalyst for organized crime. So I think this thing should be. I mean, a person in a free country should be have the freedom to eat what he or she wants to eat. I don't think you should force your ideological or your religious fetishes on the rest of the country.
But lately, do you think non-vegetarian food has been villainized? It is being looked at something so evil.
No, I think it is not a question of non-vegetarian food being demonized. It is a very well thought up strategy to change the power structures. So if I can say that the ruling dispensation in any state or at center is one which promotes an ideology, which is an ideologically based in one particular sect of one particular religion, and then you say that even within that religion, not everybody else is a vegetarian, not even in Hinduism, not even into Vedic Dharma. So it is basically trying to use food to beat others with. So anybody who's selling non-vegetarian food in a place of religious worship can be persecuted not only by the policemen or the enforcers of law, but anybody who's a vigilante. So this is lawlessness. This is give invitation to anarchy. This is going against the constitutional rights, which are fundamental rights, which are enshrined, which have judicial protection. But if the judges, some of them, the learned judges, are also of the view that this is not our core civilizational value, then what hope is there for a citizen to expect that his rights would be enforced and he would be allowed to eat what you want to eat? Take this country. In this country, according to government statistics, 68% of the people belong to what would be called the non-vegetarian category. Sometime or the other in their life, they have had meat. No, I'm not talking of eggs, meat, either mutton, chicken, etc. You have tribal population which eats both pork and beef. You have Christians who eat pork and beef. You have Muslims who don't eat pork but eat beef. You have the tribal population, children of forest, who eat whatever they want, including insects. You also have Brahmins who are meat eaters, the worshippers of Kali, the Shaktas. The Kashmiri Brahmins eat meat. Saraswat Brahmins eat meat. The Pandas in Odisha eat fish. The Bengali Brahmins eat meat. So, what are we talking about? We are talking about a minority of ignorant people who occupy positions of power and want to use this privilege to shut other people down.
Thank you, sir. Now we have learned from you only that every dish, every food has a fascinating history behind it. So, if you could name that one dish that is so fascinating, the backstory behind it, that it deserves a whole book.
I think that I would spontaneously say khichdi, because khichdi is much maligned, is a sick man's food, is an infant's food, is an old man's food. But it has such diversity in this country. You have Birbal ki khichdi, which is a shahi khichdi which cooked 8 hours to cook. It was cooked for Jahangir. He was not Jahangir then, he was Prince Salim, who had conquered the Sultan of Gujarat, whom Akbar himself, the mighty Akbar, had failed to subjugate. When he came to Fatehpur Sikri, this special dish was cooked for him, and it took 8 or 9 hours to cook, and the supervision of the cooking was entrusted to Birbal, one of his 9 gems. You have a khichdi which is cooked during Pujo in Bengal, which is Bhuni khichdi. There is a khichdi which is cooked in Makar Sankranti, in Magh Mela, which is Mashki khichdi. You even have a sweet khichdi deep down south in Tamil Nadu, which is Pongal, which is a sweet khichdi, Shakra Pongala. And then you have the Anglo-Indian dish called kejri, which is the leftovers from the night being passed off by a lazy cook to the Anglo-Indian patrons or his masters. That is there. You have bajri ki khichdi, you have sabudani ki khichdi, which are not khichdis at all, which are not lentil cum rice mix, but it is a dish which is a comfort dish. You also have people who have done interesting work on khichdi, like my friend chef Zubin D'Souza, who has worked on the thermodynamics of khichdi. Now, he's a very gifted chef, and he's tried to do what he's done is that what application of heat to lentils does, to rice does, how amino acids are released, how lactose leaches onto each other, what is added to the khichdi when condiments and spices are put there. So I think is a brilliant khichdi. And there are a tradition of a Rumi ki khichdi, the great Sufi saint who was starving himself to death, so his disciples thought, because he gave up eating meat. So for him, a superior khichdi was made without meat, but with walnuts, with pine nuts, with dates, with water chestnuts, and with, of course, more than anything else, chickpeas, Kabuli chana. So this was protein, this was sweet, this was starch, this had everything. So you have a khichdi which is, I think, quintessential. It gives you a historical timeline, it gives you the different geographies, it celebrates the diversity of India.
We surely didn't know that so many khichdis exist. Now, sir, do you want to recommend to our viewers any book on food history?
No, this is a tricky question. Is the conflict of interest. I would say that the only food books I have enjoyed reading are by Chitrita Banerjee, called Food and Life in Bengal. I have greatly enjoyed that book. Dekh to Dastarkhan by Tarana Hussain I have greatly enjoyed reading. I have enjoyed reading by Krishnendu, who teaches food studies in New York. But I think, I would also try to self-promote and say what little I have done. The history of the book, the latest book I have published, From King's Table to the Street Foods, a food memoir of Delhi. It is not actually food history, but my personal recollections of food in Delhi as I grew up. I think it goes into the backstory. But the backstories are always a bit of a con. You try to create a story to sell a recipe. I think you should enjoy food and not worry about the backstory.
And what are your thoughts on this Nainital Literature Festival? And
well, this again, is very, I find it very difficult to comment on this because I'm supposed to be a mentor of this festival. I think this is one of those most fantastic literary festivals I have ever participated in. And I have participated in several editions of Jaipur Literary Festival. I have done the Mountain Echoes in Bhutan. I have been to literary festivals in Cuttack, in Bhubaneswar, in Bombay, Mumbai, Chennai, Odisha, other places than Cuttack. But then I think this is very, very special. This is special in the sense that the location seems to be perfect, Kansya, made for a lit fest. You are in the wilderness, most of it is and the ambience of nature is flowing in and out of the thing. And in the second edition, it has got so much traction. It has filmmakers, it has dancers of repute, it has well-known authors, it has budding authors, it is people from different genres. So you meet old friends here, you make new friends here, and I hope that this takes on. And it already has become a national literary festival. Very soon, I think, take this year, there is an Australian historian and a bestseller writer. There was Jerry Pinto, the fantastic performer of poetry. There was a session in Urdu poetry and other poetry translations with Murad there, with Amitabh Bakshi there. You also have filmmakers like Nagesh Koknoor here, and you had one of those moving spirits behind this festival, Aparna Kanda, who weaves in threads from Tamil Nadu, from Andhra, from Karnataka. So this is truly representative, not only of a literary festival of printed books, but performance, which also is a dialogue between a writer and a reader, a performer and a listener.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.